This episode of Suikoden is brought to you by the rain and the subsequent SAD-fueled depression. So, this is the final draft episode of Suikoden, which also means it's going to be one of the last times we take a look around the HQ. Okay, so I kept Kryn in my party because honestly, having the Holy Rune is really nice and I don't want to let it go anymore. We're also going to be bringing the blacksmiths along, of course, to recruit Mace. But first I figured I'd go out and get the characters in and around Moravia. So, let's go here. Okay, so you already know how this goes. Hello, gentlemen. So I'm just gonna skip to the end of Moravia, because you don't need to see this. And here we are. We can finally pick up what we missed last time. This rune, Mother Earth Crystal, of course, is the upgrade to the Earth rune. I might talk about that a bit later, because there's actually a very bad glitch involved with it. This, however, is Vincent. I guess we also forgot him, and he's calling himself Vansan for some reason. Is this like a thing with you now, or what? Oh well, whatever. We're just gonna have him join. Anyway, in case you're wondering, yeah, Vansan is his Japanese name, I believe, so for this one bit of dialogue they fucked up and somehow didn't notice. That might actually be one of the worst fuck-ups in the games in terms of translation. And I mean, I know there's a lot of them, but still. Alright, let's get out of here. Alright, of course, there was an event scene at the beginning, so you can never use the escape talisman ever again. Real cool, real cool. Anyway, let's go down to the northern checkpoint, and you're going to want to do this now before moving on with the story. This is definitely permanently missable, and I think if you progress too far, it's just missed in general. However, if you say no to these two, you lose out on them forever, so absolutely recruit them now. Don't even jokingly pass them by. I mean, I know you might want to. This guy's, a little bit excitable. You might not think he's a fantastic knight, considering he's A, late, and B, kinda rude when he doesn't realize we're the leader of the Liberation Army. He's still a character we need to recruit, so do that. So, I would like to point out that, Sancho's name actually lines up with the character from Don Quixote, which, you know, I always felt that was kind of on purpose, even if Maximilian isn't named, you know, in any sort of way that could be referencing Don Quixote as far as I know. I don't think it could be. But honestly, he just reminds me of Sancho in that Maximilian, at the very least, is Quixotic, I would say. Maximilian reminds me a lot of Don Quixote, though, and Sancho especially, since he just, you know, follows Maximilian around. Anyway, don't worry, you don't need Milia to ride Thrash, because if you did, I couldn't keep the Holy Rune, because I still want to run, you know. Alright, so, back at Seek Valley. Thankfully, this is a place you can use the escape talisman in, thank goodness. And not only that, the blacksmith is pretty damn close to the entrance, so it doesn't take that long to get him, unlike Vincent, who was, you know, at the end of a dungeon, and we couldn't recruit him despite the fact that he was right in front of our eyes, and that was honestly kind of annoying. It was a little bit funny until you had to redo the dungeon again. Or redo the dungeon. We haven't been learning anything, Mace. Come on, you're our teacher. What the hell, my dude? I can only upgrade weapons to level 15. I just needed one more lesson. You've all grown up, except you, Moss. Like, what the hell? You're about as good as the rest of the blacksmiths all over the land. Come on. Do a little bit better, my dude. Alright, and that's Mace recruited. Quick word of warning. You need to recruit Mace now. Now, I did have to do a few shenanigans in order to actually have this group here. I did have to record the story scenes first, which unfortunately does mean that Mace and Vincent aren't going to be at the next war battle. Max and Sancho will be, though. But yeah, I'm pretty much at the last opportunity to actually have 4 of your own members in the party. Because after the next dungeon that we'll see in the next episode, we're going to have 2 people forever in our party that we can't get rid of. Place a bet on who you think those are. Anyway, though, yeah, so if you take too long to recruit Mace, you can't recruit him anymore because you literally cannot have all 4 blacksmiths in the party, which is really bad design if you ask me. In addition, the blacksmiths also have the only 4-person unite attack, which we could have used beforehand even without Mace, but, you know, it's nice to have him now. And, yeah, you can't actually use the pretty much one of the best unite attacks in the game, because you're just going to have 3 of your party slots taken up for the end game. It's kind of dumb. I really don't know what the designers were thinking, other than they weren't. Anyway, though, time for one last tour through the castle as we've been doing, and this time we have Kryn to hold our books, and also speed us around the castle with a holy rune, which is nice. Oh man, Fudge is depressing. But yeah, now we can get around really quickly, so I guess you could say this is a whirlwind tour. That would be more of a pun if there was an actual whirlwind involved. Instead, we're just very fast, which doesn't entirely work out for the pun. I apologize. Fucked up. Anyway, though, I didn't talk to everyone just because a certain thing's going to make this video take long enough. And, you know, nobody really changes dialogue. It's nice enough to see them again, though, right? So, we have all but one of the sound settings, which I believe we'll be finding in the next dungeon, so, that's going to have to be in the extras video, unfortunately. Say unfortunately, like that's a horrible thing or something. The last one's going to be part of the extras, which is also going to include unite attacks, which I wasn't originally planning on doing, but I figured I might as well. As long as I have the time to include everyone. And, other than that, there's also a few secrets that I'm not going to get on screen, but I will make mention of. And, yeah, other than that, it's not going to be really too much of a big bonus episode. We did, however, get all of the windows, I believe. If not, we should also be getting that in the last dungeon, but this looks pretty complete to me. We are, of course, going to be sticking with the roses, because that's the best window. And also, yeah, you have to press down to get to the ones on the right, which is very confusing. And, of course, the colors always remain the same. If that's one of the window settings, then you just get them all at once, because I don't remember not having any of those. So yep, that's it for this roof. Let's near on over to the other area, which I don't think there's anyone new over here, which is a shame, because I actually really like this section of the castle. Honestly, we haven't gotten that many new people. Thank goodness, and oh my god, that's honestly kind of overstimulating. I'm just gonna leave and find a place where I know for sure there aren't any new people. Okay, cool, no one new. Good. Alright, goodbye. Anyone else new here? I said, not realizing Taggart was at the bottom of the room because he's just that forgettable to me. Ah, thanks, Warren. I don't really know much about you, and you're kind of an endgame character, so there's not much to you, but thanks. Also, yeah, Taggart's so boring that even his one line of dialogue in the castle is extremely fucking dull. He just says hi. It's kind of funny, but like, holy shit, Taggart is so boring. I get it's hard to write 108 characters, but you could have tried at least a little harder. Alright, so, yeah, we got all the blacksmiths here. Fun fact, Mace does not start with a weapon at level 16. You can probably guess the significance of that, can't you? Mace cannot get to level 16 with his weapon, because he can't work on it himself. If you have a blacksmith in the party, they can't sharpen your weapons because they're not in that room. They're in your party. So yeah, it's really dumb that they didn't start him weapon level 16, and in general, the fact that they let that slip by is really dumb. Honestly, like, Mose doesn't have much of a purpose as is, so I don't know why they didn't make him, like, I guess a reflection blacksmith, where he would basically be the highest level blacksmith that you had. That would have been a slightly better idea, you know? That way, Mace could have upgraded his own weapon to level 16 with Mose along, but whatever. Anyway, though, here's a bit of backstory. We do have all of the old books, and we're going to read them now as opposed to the bonus episode, because, you know, might as well. Got a bit of lore here. Now, this is pretty neat, but I do kind of have to wonder if they had Suikoden... Well, actually, no, I know for a fact they had Suikoden 2 in mind when they made this game, because there is stuff you can explicitly bring into Suikoden 2 that they tell you in this game will go over to Suikoden. Well, they don't tell you directly what's going to it, but they do tell you that if you save the game at the end, that you can transfer your save file. Anyway, though, what I was trying to say is, that's a lot more relevant in the second game. And that, of course, being the first book that we read that we kind of left behind. Now, I'm not entirely sure what this is referring to, just because you can't really combine runes at all in this game. There's, like, no rune unite attacks, and yeah, I'm not really familiar enough with the lore to know what this could be talking about. That being said, it did mention Crowley at the beginning. Crowley actually has like 100 runes on him, which even in later Suikodens is technically impossible. It's kind of funny that you can then only equip one rune on them, and the other runes he apparently has are just useless. And this is just a tutorial. Yeah, we kinda know this. If we didn't, people would be dead by now. Also, I like how it says it is necessary to utilize ninja power. No mention of thieves, because thieves are so bad at actually seeing the enemy's plan. Also, that's kind of weird that I think it mentioned back there that merchants are apparently more effective when the enemy has more soldiers. Either I'm reading that wrong, or that's a mistranslation, or it could just be a mechanic that makes no sense, because you would think that the less soldiers the enemy had, it would make it more likely that they'd join you because, you know, they're terrified of being killed. You know, that makes sense to me, at least. I don't know, maybe if they have more units than you, they just join out of pity, which is what knights do all the time. Also, this is kind of unfair and depressing, but like, if a dragon rider dies, their dragon fucking commits suicide. That's fucked up. In addition, it's a little unbalanced because if the dragon dies, the dragon rider just leaves in disgrace. That's kind of fucked up. I'm glad that Futch didn't commit suicide, because that would have been even more fucked up than the lore of dragons kill themselves if their rider dies, but still, glad it wasn't worse. Anyway, here's some really badly organized hints about where to find certain people, including characters that you have to recruit. God, this is all so poorly formatted. Everything bleeds together. And here's the other list of characters who you might have trouble finding. Here's another book of hints to find them. And again, it's horribly formatted. It's all one big paragraph that just looks like it bleeds together and is almost impossible to differentiate. That being said, a few of these are obvious. Clive is probably one of the more useful ones since it says sometimes he's at the inn, but that means not always. Fusulu's pretty easy to find, though. That being said, though, that is the last book of hints. The last, only vaguely useful book of hints. We do get a nice picture of all of the artifacts or ornaments we can get throughout the entire game, including Peeing Boy, which kinda glad we didn't get that one. Hexdoll isn't worth much for some reason, neither is the terrifying graffiti, and I don't know why. I don't know. I didn't get any of the good ones, though. None of the good statues or paintings. Alright, so this does actually talk about the Kaleka incident a little bit, but it doesn't actually tell you the truth of it, which is kind of interesting. You know, this book was written from the viewpoint of the Empire, and therefore it's kind of biased. It still covers up the fact that it was actually the Empire that did the whole thing, which I guess you're supposed to pick up on that yourself, since, you know, it talks about how Leon went to the burnt-down city, so, you know, maybe that's a little suspicious if you've been paying attention, but the other thing, of course, is the way everyone else talks about it. It does seem like there's more to go off of there, but even then, it doesn't really say outright, yes, Leon is the reason for the Kaleka incidents. So we finally finished the painting. Good job, Ivanov. I'm glad we used pink to paint a multicolored boy. Oh well. Anyway, he gives us binoculars. I don't know why he doesn't need these anymore. They seem like they'd still be pretty useful, but whatever. If you talk to him again, of course, I don't know what color freedom is. It'll just show you the painting again and also play the music. So, the binoculars are a special item that aren't really useful at all, but they're kinda neat. If you plug in a second controller, you can actually change the battlefield's camera angles, which I'm not going to be showing off. It's kinda useless in the long run, but hey, it's a cute thing you can do. Not the best reward, but then again, it's not like that was a very difficult side quest or anything, so I'm not terribly disappointed. Anyway, though, next time on Suikoden, we move on with a story. And with so many more characters than when we started out with, remember when we only had a guy who wanted to make an elevator?